Hello and welcome to another update. In this one I'll be covering the whole front line, so let's start out. This video is sponsored by Amazon Prime. By clicking on the link in the description, you can get a 30-day free trial of everything Amazon Prime has to offer. Amazon Prime membership includes various perks, such as free delivery, both 2-day, 1-day and same-day delivery options, as well as streaming, shopping and reading benefits on its site. All you have to do is click on the link in the description or with the pinned comment and you can get your 30-day free trial. Thank you Amazon Prime again for sponsoring this video. Starting in the Uledar front, we see that the Russian forces have started a counterattack here by the north of Mikhailsk, where they're now attacking in the Dhaka area again. And this is actually very interesting because we have seen for the past couple of weeks that the Ukrainian forces managed to recapture these parts and are now fighting down here in the south. So with a Russian advance here to the north, it threatens the supply line of these forces and could allow the Russian forces to encircle them. At the same time, this means that Uledar is weaker than it usually is as their forces are separated. So this could be the redemption that the pro-Russian crowd have been waiting for, but the amount of success in this counterattack is unknown. It could be another failure as they just keep attacking. So I'm not sure exactly what the situation is right now, but they have managed to enter and entrench themselves within the Dhaka area, which gives them an advantage. The question is, will they use it correctly? Now we move on to the Donetsk front, where here the Russian forces continue their attacks in the direction of Merinka, as well as Pervomaiske, and to the northeast of Opitne, in the direction of Avdiivka. So we see here that they are attempting to continue their usual operations with no new strategies here. Then we come to the Bakhmut front, where the Russian forces have managed to advance further to the northwest of Bakhmut. And I have received a lot of comments telling me that I should pronounce Wagner correctly. And they say something along the lines of Wagner. So I'll try to remember Wagner. So the Wagner PMC are advancing further south in the direction of Khomove. And I believe we can now estimate that the day that Bakhmut is fully encircled is the day that the Wagner PMC managed to capture Khomove. So essentially they are about 1 kilometer from fully encircling Bakhmut. And that is because there's this minor road that goes to Ivanivske and then to the north into Jezhev Yar. This means that for a full encirclement of Bakhmut, they need control over Khomove, but they are already operationally encircling the city. So essentially, we are now in a position where the Russians are threatening to fully encircle Bakhmut. And I say that because, according to this topographic map, this position here that the Wagner is controlling is on the high ground compared to the western outskirts of Bakhmut. So essentially, we're seeing the Russians attacking in a downhill battle, which gives them a huge advantage into a small village that is unlikely to be heavily fortified since it is far beyond the front line. And all of this while only a few hundred meters from the village. So essentially, we are only a few days from a full encirclement of Bakhmut. Of course, there has been reports that the Ukrainians have fully retreated from across the Bakhmutovka River. However, they are still very far from any form of escape out of the city, which means that most likely they will all be encircled. So I see two options for the Ukrainians to try and retrieve the soldiers out of Bakhmut. The first one is a concentrated push, trying to push back the Russian forces as they try to make an escape out of the city. This will happen by the Khomove area as they're still in control of it. And then they'll just try to push through towards Jezhev Yar. The southern road will not work as there is the bridge that has been blown up here. which means that they'll need to use the Chesapeake Road. So the most direct one is this way. Then there's also the other option where they go down to Ivanivske and then up again, or just straight to Ivanivske and then up. So that is the 3 different roads that they can use for a push through. But this will be under Russian fire control. So it will be very difficult for the Ukrainians to do this, and they'll take a lot of casualties, but it may still succeed. The alternative is if they receive reinforcements and they try to hold the flanks, as the Ukrainian forces try to leave the city through both of these roads, so that they can escape without being under fire control, as the Ukrainian forces will be shielding them from the 2 sides. So these are the 2 options for the Ukrainians for a retreat out of Bakhmut. However, so far it seems that the Ukrainians have no interest in retreating out of Bakhmut, and they want to hold a last stand within the city, similar to Mariupol. So with this, we can see that the Russian forces are essentially in the end game when it comes to Bakhmut, as a full encirclement means they can just starve out Bakhmut. So there are 2 options for the Russian forces: take control over Khomove as well as Ivanivske, essentially. This will allow them to completely 100% securely encircle Bakhmut, which will allow them to guarantee a encirclement of Bakhmut and prevent any stragglers from retreating out of the city, and then just starve out the city. The second option is for them to take Khomove and then enter the western parts as they enter the southern parts, and then they just attack from all directions, slowly but surely, taking control over the whole city. So essentially storming the city. That are the 2 options of the Russian forces. The first option, which is a complete encirclement, securely keeping the encirclement tight and starving out the Ukrainians, this could take months, or as Sun Tzu from The Art of War says, 3 months to encircle a city. And that is because they take that long before they are completely out of food and are forced to surrender. Of course, it can be shorter than that if the morale of the forces drops and they decide to surrender. However, a storming of the city will most likely take only a few weeks, but it will take a lot more casualties, like heavy casualties. Maybe for every 1 to 2 Ukrainian soldiers, the Russian forces will lose 1 to 2 soldiers. So there's no point in doing that, as it is very risky. However, with the fire superiority of the Russian forces, and the Ukrainians will have to focus their forces to not be taken out isolated. This means that the Russian forces will have the advantage in the sense that if the Ukrainians gather within the city, then they can just bombard that place with artillery. If they separate and split up, then they can focus their forces and take 1 building at a time. So essentially, the Russian forces, if they think strategically when storming the city, they can avoid taking heavy casualties. Now, moving on to the northwest of Bakhmut, we see that the Russian forces also attack in the direction of Oryhovo-Vasilivka, so westwards from the Tubovo-Vasilivka area. And at the same time, to the north of Soledar, the Russian forces are also attacking in the direction of Rostolivka, as well as Vesele, as they attempt to take control of these villages to form a proper defensive line to the north. And to the east of Siversk, fighting continues in the direction of Bilohorivka. As for the Kreminna front, fighting continues westwards as active defense is ongoing here to the northwest of Kreminna, and the Russian forces are attacking in the direction of Yampolivka, Terny, Nevelske, the southwest of Plashenka, and Makivka. So that is all for today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as that helps me out a lot. And you can also check me out on PayPal or any other donations down in the link if you are willing to donate. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for watching, and see you all next time.